So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into the demo. Now, what I have here, I just want to spend a few minutes to go over some general items in PPM 5.0 in case you haven't seen it before. You can do it in the portal or NetWeaver Business Client, as I had mentioned. Along the top here, these are called work sets or roles. A lot of folks will call these a tab, and that's fine too. And this is defined in your security role for what you can see. You can actually put other ECC transactions here besides just project management, portfolio management. We have our standard left navigation with our portfolio structure, classification hierarchies, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we go through. I'll go ahead and click on this. This is where you can do percentages and spec out hardware, software licensing, servers, power, other items that you might need to do for IT reporting and tracking, and it's very easy to set up and to maintain. This is at more of like a cube level and approach to where you can do classifications and different hierarchy structures to track your projects and look at them from different views. That's really what PPM is all about. It's very cubular in nature. We got our portfolio items, which are, again, projects in SAP. An item is a project, although you can put placeholders in here for your prioritization, and that's why they're called an item, because really until they're started or approved, they're not really a project if they're not active. Portfolio initiatives, that's more of a top-down planning, or what I'd like to call a master plan. It is a program, so you can budget, and like an example for a Windows 7 deployment, you could have a proof of concept with a small group, have a second sub-project for the actual larger global rollout of Windows 7 as an example. So that is a top-down program. Reviews, reviews are just different projects that you can group together and report on. You can also use workflow to create a review automatically of, let's say, a project is forecasted to start April 1st, but here is today. We're already in the middle of April. We can go ahead and have a review that if it hasn't actually started, pull that project into a dashboard so you can actually have that management level review and dashboard. Collections are very similar to initiatives, though they're more of a bottom-up collector, so it's a many-to-many, and you can group different SAP projects together across different portfolios, so that's really the key there. So I just wanted to explain a little bit of that. Let's go ahead and we'll jump back into our portfolio structure, and as you'll see as we go along, dashboards change, but pretty much any view you're in, you're always going to get a quick snapshot or dashboard that you can, with the settings by user or at the administration level, set up. So very good information very quickly. Now, portfolio and project management, so PPM, is not just for projects. This can be used to get your total IT view. This can do business projects. You can set your portfolio hierarchy structure up for the Americas, Europe, Asia. This is kind of a typical default structure that we've set up for other clients. Internal IT projects, support and overheads. You can get your actual support time tracking. So what am I really spending on non-project work? Is it an 80-20? Is it a 50-50? Enhancements. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, really you can put a 2 to 5 year roadmap, have a bucket or a sub-portfolio, as I like to call it inside of SAP, for those future projects, and you can bring those into active when necessary. So that's really where it's a portfolio item waiting to be prioritized from a strategic point of view. So next we're going to go ahead and we'll just jump right into a sub-portfolio from overall global IT. We'll go to internal IT projects. So here on the internal IT projects, I can see all my items. I have 17 projects already listed in here, and I can see the various initiatives, collections, or what projects in this sub-portfolio are part of reviews. So I'll go ahead and just go into the item dashboard, and I'll maximize my screen here to make it easier to see. So this dashboard, as I had mentioned earlier, this is for this sub-portfolio, and very quickly I can see all my projects, what status they're in, whether they're starting up, they're in progress, they're closed, or maybe they haven't been updated yet. Plan, start, and finish. This is all customizable very quickly. These are standard columns, and these indicators as well. Budget status, staffing. So you can be a little bit more proactive and not reactive. You can kind of see if a project's going off course without a lot of maintenance, without a lot of data, and we're actually going to go into a project here in a minute and view it. But let's see what this yellow is right here. We have an understaffed project. So it's not red, but there's a warning that we're going to need to do something. Here we are starting in this quarter. We show demands about 686 hours, so we're a couple of hundred hours short on the supply side. So I know I need to bring in a contractor, or I need to shuffle around some other projects or resources to be able to accommodate this next 2 quarters. So I can very quickly work on that based on these indicator columns right on my dashboard in the portfolio. And I can look and say, well, why do I have this critical alert? Why am I critically behind schedule? Well, standard 25, 50, 75, 100%. I can say I've got 15 tasks at the aggregate level. I have 4,600 hours, and I haven't started yet. So that would definitely put me behind schedule. And although this is the PPM project, I just want to mention this was a demo. It does not take 4,600 hours to implement PPM. It's in the hundreds of hours. So just not to scare anyone there. Let's go ahead and close that out. Let's go ahead and go into a project, and so you can see what's actually in a project itself. So here on the top we have what's called our quick information. It always kind of shows you where you're at, the overall portfolio, and I'm in that child or sub-portfolio of internal IT projects. I have initiation, planning, delivery, closure, just a kind of a standard phase methodology here. You can customize this through configuration very quickly to have whatever you need for support, or a support or maintenance break-fix type project or portfolio, sub-portfolio. You probably only have one, either registration or active there. You can also, for more complex projects, of course, if you want analysis, design, construction, you can configure that as well. Right here on our overview, anything with a star is required information. So very quickly I can put something in here depending on your setup, what fields you want to be required. I have our overview information here, name, description, priority. It's in progress, plan start date, forecast date, and you can pull in other information in these fields as well. Now one thing, if you set this up with the appropriate for your organization, you get project charter. You can actually get your project charter information and have it stored here in the portfolio. There's really no need to have it stored in a Word document when you can add whatever custom fields that you might need for your project charter. As we go through the overview, we have additional information now here, and Ian alluded to it early on, our portfolio prioritization. This is part of where that comes from. So if this project, this one's already in WIP, but if this project was a new project on our roadmap, we could do questionnaires which are completely configurable for risk. You know, what's your probability of technical success, commercial success if it's some kind of profit or a new product development type project. So you can take that into account when you run your report. If you have 20 desired projects for 2013, but maybe you can really only do 10. And that prioritization in the portfolio, the projects to do, takes into account this information, along, of course, with capacity and financials as well. And you can do what-if planning, things like that. We'll be saving that for a future webinar. And so we're just hitting on the highlights today. Classification again here, and This is optional. This is just another way to look at the data. So servers, licensing, and I can, how much of this project is roughly licensing, software, maintenance, whatever the case may be. You can classify across projects and portfolios, and that's new to SAP 5.0 PPM. We continue on, and we have our financial summary information. Some of this can be pulled back from ECC. The rest of it can be editable. Of course, forecasted budget, costs. You can have as many or as little fields here as you like. And another neat feature inside of 5.0 is this return on investment's grayed out. It's just for information or IRR, or individual rate of return as well. I just hid. I can actually go ahead and go on this, and I can hide this field. Well, I really don't need to see that. It's just an informational. It's not going to help my data entry. So I can very quickly hide that as long as your setup and administration allows it, and it's not a required field. So I can just get to the view, or just the fields that matter. Year to date, maybe you want to track that, maybe you don't. You can always hide those fields. So very, very good functionality. Very quickly you can get information in here. For capacity planning, this can be customized as well. Here we have our little alert still showing it's understaffed. We have our unit, which is based on hours, which is definitely what I recommend. And capacity period, which matches, of course, a monthly period for the financials. Across these other tabs, which we won't jump into them all today, is we have the phases and decision points, which I'd mentioned up here, and these can be set to each one and viewed. We have our relationships and deliverables you can meet, do earned value off of. Relationships, let's go ahead and we'll just jump into this tab really fast. This is kind of important. You can have dependencies upon other projects. So this project is dependent upon a business objects BPC implementation. I can see my object links as well. I can see this is linked to an internal order to either capture cost for capital or time. In this case, it's capturing time from CATS. I have my related other related objects and relationships. Another tab we can take a quick look at, this is definitely different than 4.5, is you can put links, documents, you can do more of a collaboration or team discussion, standard SAP notes with timestamps, and all this is at the portfolio level. So you can really kind of track what's going on with that project and have that single source of the truth without having to chase down documents and information across multiple people or multiple local drives or file shares for that matter. Miscellaneous is really, still haven't figured out why it's been named this, but this has users. We can see our users in here. We can add this as security. We won't get into this in too much detail, but the security here is different than ECC security. And this is more of an inherited role. It's more simple from an owner-admin point of view, write, read, or deny, and you can do that at the portfolio and sub-portfolio level, right down to the project. Custom component is just additional fields and tabs. Just like I mentioned earlier, referring back to the project charter, you can add technical documentation, fields, risk documentation, whatever you'd like to add. You can also add those on the overview, but it's nice to kind of have them split out to a custom tab. So that is an item in the portfolio. So now let's go ahead and just take a quick look at capacity planning for this project, for this item.